officers that have in different stages of their lives, okay? And I know what he's all about. You're not that guy, all right? But at the same time, you can't just sit here and say, well, I hope this all goes away, all right? This isn't like a list your girlfriend gives you to say, here's a list of things to do. Can you go pick up a few things at the grocery store for me and get some gas? This isn't what that is, okay? This is a lot more serious than a to-do list. There's no doubt in my mind, okay, that you've done this to Tori. No doubt in my mind. We're past that, okay? And there's no doubt to me. I truly believe it's out of character. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's out of character. But Mike, I can't sit and talk to you and pretend that nothing's happened, okay? I can't turn back time, okay? You've been involved in this thing. Along the way, there's been some decisions made that I would like to think you would take back, okay? But again, I believe this is out of character for you. I could be wrong. Like, I don't think you feel very good about this. I don't think you feel very good about what happened to this girl. And I'm sure that every day you've had to deal with this stress. All right. Now we need to understand what pushed you to this point. What caused you to do this? Like what would cause you, who's flying under the radar, you're actually a quite popular person when the investigators talk to people. You're a very well-liked individual. There's not a bunch of people say a lot of bad shit about you, all right? There are some people that report that you might be involved in this. There's not a lot of people that are sitting there saying bad shit about you, all right? So that tells me that you have some people that respect you and some people that like you. But that also tells me, that, again, that this must be out of character for you, okay? As soon as I sat and talk about people that have been involved in killing more than one person, you get disgusted, okay? You may well be disgusted with me, or you may be disgusted with the thought of the whole thing, okay? But that's not what you want to hear. You're disgusted by that. What does that tell me? It tells me that you're not the type of person that wants to go and kill a bunch of people, okay? But we need to deal with reality. And the reality of it is your credibility is all you have left at this point. If you sit there and say nothing, everybody's going to assume the worst, okay? And you may be painted with a picture that you're not real happy with, okay? And I'm the only one that feels like sitting in here with you, right? There's no investigators lined up in here sitting with you. Why do you think that is? Right? Because they've been working at this for weeks, okay? They're tired, and they've been away from their families, and none of them want to come in here and talk to you, okay? I have no issue with it. I'm neutral. I don't have these issues. I haven't been away from my family. I don't mind talking to you. Like, I've talked to people that have been involved in things far worse than what they're saying you did here. Far worse, okay? I can sit and list the things that I've been involved in, and people have done things that have been a threat to our national security, terrorism in Canada. Or I've dealt with people that have been involved in murdering more than 3 people, all right? I've been involved with people who have abducted and taken the life of children. I've been involved in it. I've dealt with many people who are sex offenders that habitually and repeatedly touch and molest children. I've dealt with that. That stuff doesn't bother me, okay? But what's going on here is that you're just in there, you're just a big bundle of nerves, and you don't know what to do. You don't know whether to sit here, shake, shit, puke, you don't know what to do. But the reality of it is, at the end of the day, the evidence is the evidence, okay? And the evidence clearly shows you're responsible for the abduction of Tori, okay? And I also know that she's no longer with us, okay? And you're responsible for that too, okay? And there's a sexual component to this as well. So you might want to sit and get this off your chest and go through your side with me, all right? Because if I just walk away, at minimum, that's what people are going to think, at minimum. All right. When we sit and look at Michael Briere when he was in Toronto,
I don't know these people.
Okay. Well, what happened was Holly Jones was an 11-year-old girl. She's abducted in Toronto. Okay, and there was a big search for her, and her mother was on the news repeatedly pleading for her safety. And what Michael Briere had done, as I had mentioned, is he was watching pornography on the internet. On his internet at home, he kept looking at it. He had this desire as he saw it to get more and more. So then he decides, after watching this for a period of time, that he wants to touch a kid. So he goes out and he finds a kid and brings her into his apartment. She goes willingly. He talks her into it. In she goes. And he does some sexual things to her. But then he panics because he's thinking, holy crap, she can identify me. She knows where I live. What do I do? Okay, he causes her death. And later on, it takes a bit of time, but the investigators track him down, and he is arrested because of the evidence. And the first thing he does when he gets on the camera is he looks at the camera and says, I apologize, here's what I did. And he outlines what happened with the pornography, and And then he actually outlines, he gives actually some parents some safety tips for their kids. He says, if you don't want your kid to be abducted, here's what you need to do. And he tells them what kids should be doing, okay? And what happened to him? You haven't even heard about him. Why is that? Because he apologized and moved on. That's why you've never heard of him, okay? But you've heard of Paul Bernardo, who didn't apologize, right? Everyone knows who Paul Bernardo is, right? That happened in southwestern Ontario. Everyone knows who he is. Everyone knows who Carla is, right? And is this a Paul and Carla thing? That's going to be asked, okay? Make no mistake, I'm not making this shit up, okay? I was involved with the Green Ribbon Task Force, which was the Paul and Carla thing in the 90s, okay? I had all kinds of involvement from the time it was unsolved to the time it was solved. But no one's ever heard of Michael Breer for the reason I just told you, all right? But they sure as hell know who these other guys are, right? And it's the same situation you've been in. If someone, a friend of yours, lies to you, or someone rips you off for $50 or $20, right? And you catch them. You say, listen, why did you take my money? And the guy says, I didn't take your money, right? You're pretty pissed off with that guy. You know what, Mike? I took your money. I apologize. I was gonna pay you back, but you came and I panicked, so I took your money. You can live with that, all right? But you have some explaining to do. Okay, that's reality. I can't change that. Okay? If this is something that got out of control, that you just planned on taking her and you thought you were going to put her back, or just take her for a ride, that's fine. It got out of hand, then we need to talk about that. Okay? You need to sit and explain that and say why. Okay? If not, then I say people think the worst until they know. All right? That's human nature. You and I have both done that in our lives. If we don't know the facts, all right, people can think the worst, and that's what you have to deal with. Okay? This is reality. There's even steps that, things that you've done to your vehicle to try and conceal the crime. Like I say, you just can't, there's no magical stuff that washes away DNA or gets rid of DNA, okay? And keeping in mind, a lot of the stuff that you did is on cameras and other spots, okay? I mean, Home Depot has all kinds of cameras, okay? Parking lots and inside the store, so even if you don't go into the Home Depot store, there's still cameras in the parking lot for security reasons and for thefts and other reasons. So this case primarily is solved through cameras, all right? But also there's other things. I mean, you didn't do this alone, as I've told you. I never told you who was with you, though I know, and I know what her role was in this, okay? And I also know it was your vehicle. But I can sit and write this out. I can draw this thing out from the time Tori is picked up to the time that her end has come. I can tell you that stuff, all right? What good is it coming from me? The investigators are going to do that, okay? My role is to sit and determine what the hell happened here. What caused you to get involved in something like this? And that's all my role is. And if I walk away saying, I don't know what caused it, then that's the way it goes. Too bad, right? That's just the way it goes. But if I sit with you and determine what happened and how this got off the rails, then you're not sitting there alone, all right? Because you may be a lonely person for a period of time until people understand what the hell happened, okay? And the person that judges you, the people that judge you, will all be people that have made mistakes themselves. But human nature is very simple. We all appreciate when people are honest with us and when we all admit our mistakes and acknowledge when things get out of hand. There's nothing wrong with that. But then there's also times when we're not tolerant of people that won't be honest in a situation. It's not like, I'm not trying to belittle this or make it seem insignificant. I know what I'm asking here, okay? I know that I'm not asking you to do something easy. I know that, okay? And I know just because I know the case facts and I've sat in rooms for many hours with people under circumstances like yours or worse. I'm not trying to downplay it or minimize it or be like some kind of smart ass. But at the same time, you have to understand, not only is there a ring of truth to what I'm saying and a ring of experiences to what I'm saying, because I've been there and been around it, but there is no other way. You don't have any other options. There's nothing else that you can do to change what's happened to her. We can't turn back time. However, we can explain how things got off the rails, whether it was something that happened slowly or just went right off the rails right from the beginning. It can be as simple as you driving up the highway and think somebody spots you with her in your car, and you make a series of decisions, all right? I mean, that's happened in the past where people have picked someone up and they weren't sure what they were going to do. somebody saw them, and guess what happens, right? They panic. I can give you another example of that because it was in the news recently. I don't know if you know it. It was a case that was 38 years old. Okay, happened in Northern Ontario, up by North Bay. And the guy was actually living in London. He moved away 38 years after the death of this 12-year-old girl. And through technology and DNA, they were able to solve it. Have you ever heard of that case? Why? Because the guy said, yeah, he was driving up the road, he took this kid, and as they're driving up the road, he sees a person, he grabs her by the head and pulls her head down the dash of his truck. And someone saw him do it, but didn't know who the person was. And years later, he gets convicted of it. He acknowledges, yeah, you know what, I screwed up. And you've never even heard of this guy. And that happened in London last year. That happened in October. That it was a great big media event that had happened. And it was done in court in December. And the whole thing was done. And there was media attention to that. Nobody even, it wasn't even on your radar, okay? So these things do happen, right? Whether you don't hear about them or not, these things happen. Why do you think the OPP has a behavioral sciences section? This is all the stuff that we deal with, okay? We deal with occurrences that are unusual. We deal with situations that aren't regular situations, and that's not what this is. This isn't a regular situation. This is a couple of people that made a series of decisions that hopefully they understand aren't quite right, and that they feel bad about, and are willing to, apologize and accept the fact that hey, I made a mistake, and I wish I could take it back. But
Yes.
I'm just sitting there, I'm thinking, am I dealing with someone who's got all these issues? Am I dealing with someone who people are going to think is some kind of monster? Or am I dealing with someone who let something get out of control, okay? And they got excited and couldn't control it. I think that it got out of hand. If you're asking my opinion, I'm telling you. And I'm on video saying it. I think this situation got out of hand. That's my opinion. And I believe that, okay? I don't think that you're some kind of monster. If I did, you'll find me pretty candid. You'll find that I'll come right out and tell you, okay? I don't think that, okay? I think this got out of control. I think it got out of hand, okay? Are you some kind of monster? Or did you make a mistake here? You made a mistake, right? This is a mistake, right, Mike? You'd take it back if you could. This is a mistake, right, Mike? You'd take it back. If you could turn back the hands of time, Mike, would you do this a little bit different? Mike, I'm talking to you. You turn back the hands of time. You're not some monster. You made a mistake, right? You'd take this back if you could. This is a mistake, Mike. You need to deal with this.
I am no monster,
I know
but
you're
I
not a
did
monster.
not do what you think I did.
I know you did. We're past that, okay?
No.
We're past that, Mike, okay?
Mm-mm.
I know you're not a monster. If I thought you're a monster, I would tell you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wouldn't just walk out. I would spend some time with you. If I thought you're a monster, just because I want to see what makes you tick. You're not a monster, all right? This thing has consumed you. Look at you, right? You can barely eat or drink. You haven't touched your donut, right? Why is that? Because your guts are eating yourself up inside, okay? You can't sit and say that you're innocent and did all. What's the first thing you did when you got in here? You just laid down and curled up, right? It's all over. You know it's over, okay? You know it's done, okay? You don't have to be an expert in body language. All you've done is lay around in the fetal position since you've been here. That's not how innocent people act. That's not how people that are falsely accused of something act. It's the last thing they do.
Possibly that it's freezing. I haven't eaten since noon. It couldn't be that this is all just a huge shock to me. No, it couldn't have been any of that at all.
It's probably all of that, but it's also the fact that you're involved in it. It's probably all of that, Mike. Okay, the fact that maybe you haven't eaten that much, and maybe you are cold. There's no question. The first thing you said to me was you're cold and hungry, so that's why I grabbed you that stuff. Okay, and I'm willing to accept that. Maybe that is part of the issue. Okay, but there is a larger issue here. Okay, and it's the issue of the evidence and the issue that you're involved in this. Okay, and we can't change that. But there's no problem with acknowledging that. Like I say, nothing's going to change now. You have, it's up to you. There's a lot of things I'd be willing to sit and do with you if you're willing to do it. If you want to sit and you and I discuss an apology, I would sit and do that. Whether it's a verbal one where you say you're sorry or whether we write one out, I'd be willing to do that. If you want to go for a drive with me and you drive around and explain things, I would sit and do that. Okay? I have no issue with that, Mike. I have no ill will, anger towards you. I have none. You don't make me mad. You don't upset me, nothing like that, okay? The only issue I have is I don't fully understand. And I acknowledge it. I don't have to come in here as a behavioral scientist and tell you that I don't understand something, but I'm telling you that, okay? And I don't understand how you can fly under the radar for 28 years, okay? And get involved in this. Though it does happen, all right? It does, it happens actually all the time, where this stuff happens. Again, I've actually given you a couple examples already of people that didn't have, real dealings with the police and get involved in this stuff, where they abduct somebody. That happens all the time. Sometimes it's as simple. One of the most common ways an abduction happens is through hitchhiking, or someone's hitchhiking, someone picks them up and they realize, oh shit, and they just decide to keep them for a period of time. That happens all the time. Happens in Ontario, happens across Canada, okay? This one's a little bit different because, the girls picked up Terry, let's call a spade a spade. Terry picks up Tori, brings her to your car, and you guys drive away. That's reality, okay? Can't change that. That's